learn to analyze your gear, no matter if it's analog or digital. The main message of the course has nothing to do with genres. Creating a vision and turning it into sound.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kristian Kohle.
Hello there, Andy. Very nice to meet you. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thanks for taking the time to join me today on the same time zone. So it's a pleasure.
Finally.
Kristian's in Germany. I'm in Austria, so we could probably reach out and touch hands over the internet.
It is 11 a.m. now, and it really feels weird to do a video at this time, by the way. So I have done no video before, 8, 9 p.m. or something with all the American dudes. So I'm happy to finally meet a fellow European.
Well, I'm British, actually, so technically not European anymore. But
Anymore, no.
But I don't know. I'll take it. I'll take what I can get.
Don't get started on Brexit. Like.
You've done a course with ProMix Academy on how to record guitars, to simplify it. I've picked out some of the stuff that interested me most, and I am absolutely going to do the course, and that's why we're here today, because I genuinely think that the people watching this, hello people, can learn what they need to learn from you. It is an amazing course. It's humble, it's informative, it's concise, it's fun. So firstly, thank you for making this course. It's going to help me.
Thank you. So, you want me to talk about it, right? So this course is called High Gain Guitar Tone Crafting. And I could see a lot of courses on the market that were focusing on, let's say, the technical part of recording, explaining, how to record your guitar, how to get your guitar into your computer, and focusing on whatever, EQing guitars, compressing guitars, all those details. And I felt like doing something else, because very often I had the impression that many guitarists don't really know what kind of tone they want. So this course shows people how to create what I call taste and what I call a vision, to analyze what you like, and based on your own taste, create a vision, what you wanna achieve, what kind of tone you wanna achieve, and then you can select the right gear. And if you do that right in the beginning, if you choose the right guitar, the right amp, the right cab, the right microphone, because you have a certain vision and you have a certain roadmap, if you do that correctly, I mean, there is no correct there, but if you do that correctly, if it feels right for you, you don't need all the processing and all the studio magic later. I think that is the main thing. So I try to simplify the whole guitar tone finding process, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And having watched, as I said, some of the course, you're nailing it. There are so many courses available, and it's quite brave, I think, to put another one on the market, that's to offer this, because and I can say this as a YouTuber, there's a lot of content out there to be watched by guitar players, probably when guitar players should be practicing guitar, but there's a lot of stuff to be educated with. And I'm being very sycophantic, but the course is fantastic. I am excited to go to my friend Jürgen, and say, hey, did you know this? Because he won't.
I mean, in the end, the reaction I get from people is that they are getting closer to the tone that they want. Because one important thing is, I don't want people to copy me or to copy you or someone else. Especially these days when, it's a lot easier to get a decent tone compared to 20 years ago. It's a lot cheaper. It is more about sounding unique and sounding personal. That's what I feel like. So people are overwhelmed with a lot of gear, especially plugins and IRs, and a lot of stuff. And in German we say, man sieht den Wald vor lauter Bäumen nicht. You can't see the forest because of too many trees. So people need to learn to focus on what they actually want, again, their own vision of a tone. And that's what people told me. They got back to me and said, like, hey, I feel a lot more secure, about following my own taste. I got a lot of reactions like that. And so it's not about EQing 5K or 4K and having that notch here and all those damn details. It's about, finding out if you want to go here or want to go there.
it's very refreshing because I would be turned off if someone was telling me about the frequencies to cut or boost.
Yeah.
I would do it, but I wouldn't really want to do it. I wouldn't really care about it. I want to play guitar. As we spoke just before we started talking, that I sometimes have disagreements or interesting conversations with my friend because he's an engineer and I'm a guitar player. And you said you put yourself somewhere in the middle. Is that right?
That's right, yeah. I mean, I guess he will be talking a lot more about EQ notched at 4K or something, and you are the guy who just, or what's the problem? You just want to throw a mic into the room and get started?
Yeah, I just want to play guitar. So for example, if you take a look at what's behind me, I have a 2x12 cab there with some vintage V30s in it. And then I've got an E906 on there, and I put another mic on there separately for a bit of a wider tone, one slightly darker, one slightly brighter. And then I leave it, and then I do my videos.
Yeah. Well, if that works for you, that is perfectly fine. I mean, it makes sense. That's what I'm also trying to teach in that course, to analyze your own gear. So if you own several cabinets, if you own several microphones, it makes sense to take the time and to find out how they actually sound, to find out this one is brighter, this one is more whatever, fatter sounding or something, and to analyze especially the mids if we are talking about guitars. And the better you know your gear and the more you have done some experiments with your gear, the faster you will find a tone next time. So next time maybe I need a brighter tone because I want to go into that direction. If you know your gear, you can put together that puzzle more quickly. That is the key. So take some time to analyze your gear, and then when it's about recording, you don't have to waste hours to get there. Then you just know, if I combine this mic with that cab and put it there, I'm gonna have that kind of tone in 2 minutes, and then it's time to be creative instead.
Okay, what I took from that is don't buy new gear because you have to learn how to use it.
Yeah.
Which I am guilty.
That's a problem with all the plugins, especially, all the IRs. Just people are drowned in a lot of IRs they have never used and a lot of plugins they haven't really analyzed. And it's so easy to just swap plugins without actually listening. And that's what I tell them. You need to take some time to analyze all the gear you have. Try to describe the character of the amps you have. That really helps. Sounds a little boring, but it isn't. So try to describe, how that 4x12 orange that I see behind you sounds compared to the black cabinet in front. What is the difference there? And you will learn something about how they sound, and that will make you find better tones next time and make you find those tones a lot faster, instead of just buying new gear and being drowned in overwhelmed. Yeah, does that make sense? I hope so.
Absolutely. So spend your time with your gear and learn it. I mean, it's the same as anything in life. It's just with new pedals coming out all the time, new guitars, and marketing that tells us we need these new plugins, like one click and you're finished. These sort of plugins, which I'm not knocking, I'm just saying they exist and marketing terms exist.
I feel like it's not always about quality. If you know how something sounds and you use it the right way, it will always be better than something that might be more expensive or technically better, but you don't know how to use it properly. It's the same thing with if you write a good song will always be better, even if it has a shitty mix or a shitty recording, than a bad song. Or if you are a good guitar player, you will sound better even on a cheap guitar. It's the same principle here. So if you know your gear and know how to use it right, you don't even need the most fancy or the most expensive stuff. That's what I believe.
I absolutely agree, and it's refreshing to hear other people talk about that. The thing that I was brought up into the world of
Can I just add that?
Of course.
I still love gear, and I still own way too much gear though. So I'm guilty myself. Just don't tell anybody.
It's okay, but nobody can see behind you. We're all focused on your face. The thing that I was brought up with recording was definitely from a financial point. So I started with a 4-track. I recorded my first, I don't want to call it an album, but a collection of songs with my band, all with an SM58. And by the end of that recording, we knew where we'd used the SM58 correctly and where we'd used it incorrectly. So that kind of concretes what you just said. And certain things that sounded awful on, and certain things it sounded superb. Like I wouldn't have made another choice. And that's really the basis of my history of recording, is doing it, making some mistakes and improving on it a little later. Sometimes that includes buying another mic or something. I did go down the road of getting into preamps, sort of cheap valve preamps, and I think that I made a mistake there because I don't think the valves were doing much in those preamps, and I think I would have got better results by, instead of spending money, spending time on something else.
I've been there. I've been there too. I have another example, like the first guitar effects unit that I bought when I was, or the first like professional one. I think I was 17 or 18. Was the Boss SE70, and that thing was super expensive back then. Would be something like 1,000 euros now, I think. So really expensive, but it had like 80 algorithms, like any effects, including some early like guitar or like amp sim stuff. But any effect you can imagine, even a vocoder and a lot of stuff. And that was the only thing I could use with my 4-track. I also had a Tascam 4-track, but I still know there's still no piece of gear that I know better than this Boss effect unit with its 150 different algorithms. I still know it. There's even a 2-second sampler in there. You can sample something, but it's from 95 or something. What I'm saying is I really explored that piece of equipment and I got a lot of great tones out of it. And I wish I had the time and the passion to do that with all the gear that I have. But that's what I'm trying to teach people, and that's what I'm trying to teach me as well, is like take the time, analyze the stuff. And even if sometimes you just realize, hey, the SM57 sucks, whatever, or kick drum. That just means you've learned something and you really need to purchase something else. Fair enough. But sometimes you just feel like, damn, it actually sounds pretty cool on rock and roll vocals or something.
Yeah, it's rather than doing a course, it's kind of a collection of things you learn by doing those things that you've unsatisfactory results. And
yeah.
Like I can tell you 100 ways on how not to release an album, for example, how not to write a song, or how not to play the pentatonic scale. But finding the one key is really, really difficult. Now, I was going to ask you for some top tips, some sort of I don't want to say clickbaity, but some actual definitive answers to some certain questions. But
okay.
Again, it's an opinion, so feel free to pick him apart in the comments section, everybody, because it's just an opinion. I want to preface this by saying, if it sounds good, then it is good. So I'm sure you're going to agree with that.
Yeah.
If you could only have one speaker, like one cab, one speaker, one mic, one setup, and you had to do a multiple number of things with that to cover, say, a metal band one day, a rock band the next day, and maybe a pop band the third day, which collection of gear would you have?
It would be a oversized 4x12 cabinet from Mesa Boogie, or even from Marshall. They also used to do some good sounding oversized cabs. And I would either go for the V30 you find in Mesa Boogie cabinets. That's the British made version in 8 ohm, which sounds great. Or I would go for the pretty new Eminence DV77. That's the Slipknot Mick Thompson signature speaker. That also sounds great. It's actually, the most important thing is actually trying out a few of those speakers and finding the good sounding one. Because if you compare 4 different V30s, they're all going to sound different. So that is important. And then it would be the good old SM57. Very boring answer, but I use 57s a lot. Most of the time I blend them with other dynamic microphones, but that would be my Desert Island microphone.
Thank you. I hate the fact that you've just said test out several speakers because they all sound different, because that makes it even more frustrating for me. Maybe I got a good one, I do get compliments on the tone. That's a very, very good answer.
The problem is that you need some kind of reference, so if you just get a new cab, which one is good. If you hear the guitar isolated, it's sometimes difficult to tell. So, but I'm sure, do that test. Get another Harley Benton cab and then mic your favorite speaker, the one that you know and that you feel it sounds good, and listen to the other ones. And I'm pretty sure you will hear some shocking differences.
Regarding like analog versus digital gear, it's going to be a constant conversation, and I don't think there's one right answer. But if someone came to you and they had some sort of Kemper, for example, and they insisted on recording through that, or and you wanted or you suggested to also record through a cab, and maybe also a DI, is it important to capture all those sources, or is it better to get one tone and use that when mixing?
I prefer to just have one tone. So if I actually record with a guitarist here, which is not happening that often anymore. Most of the time people send me DI tracks. Then I prefer to craft the actual tone and let the guitarist play with that tone. First of all, because if it feels right, it's mostly people play better. But also you just avoid a lot of discussions later. If people know you can reamp and reamp and reamp again, you easily get into an endless reamping nightmare. And back to your question, I don't mind if it's digital or analog. If someone finds a certain tone he wants, let's go for it. Personally, I prefer to craft tones the analog way. You can see I have a lot of tube amps and a lot of cabs and a lot of microphones. Because to me, I'm more creative if I use the analog gear. If I use a Kemper, which it's down there, it's right here, and I use it a lot, but I tend to get a little lazy and use presets because I know, this works, I've used it before. But whenever you set up an analog signal chain, amps, cabs, microphones, at least me, I will, fiddle around a lot more, and usually I end up trying more, and I end up with a more unique tone, because digital makes me a little lazy. You know what I mean? Like, you just know, like, this tone works for death metal. It sounds so good. Let's go for it.
I absolutely understand. That would have been my answer, the lazy answer, because I like this chair. Quite honestly.
On the other hand, for me, it's quite easy. I have the live room over there. I have the microphones. I can make noise 24/7. So, I'm in a luxury situation. I can set up something in 2 minutes. And of course, people can't do that at home. So I'm not blaming anyone for using digital gear. I can just encourage people to, not to get lazy and actually try a lot of stuff and compare a lot of stuff. So like I said in the beginning of the video, learn to know your gear, learn to analyze your gear, no matter if it's analog or digital.
What a wonderfully in the middle answer. I like it. Pleases everyone. And for me, it's the right answer. What's the best way to go about recording oneself, to being alone, to having to jump between being the engineer, the guitar player, the person that places the mic? Is there a good workflow you would recommend?
Well, I would say whenever you play, have the technical shit done, have it done. Like, make a sound check where you concentrate on finding the right gear and moving the microphones until you're happy with that, and setting up the guitar. So once you start playing, you don't struggle with the tuning of the guitar, you don't struggle with the microphone position. And so try to separate the sound check and the setup of the guitar from the actual recording process, from the editing process, because that's the next one. Don't record one riff and then go into editing and go back. I think that just kills the vibe. So if there's only one person, make sure to separate those three worlds from each other.
Well, there's our three answers, and thank you to the people that submitted the questions. I hope that you don't disappointed, or you want to buy new gear. I know you want to buy new gear, but don't buy the new gear. As Kristian said, learn it and
buy my course. Make me rich and famous and buy my course instead. That's what I'm telling you.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the course. I know you've summarized the course generally, and I can tell you that it's very much coming from a real-world perspective, so not with measuring tapes and a big sort of qualification needed. You're coming from, I believe, the place that most people need to come from a guitar player that needs to get a sound recorded that sounds good. Who would you think this course is not for?
Oh my God, I was preparing a different answer. If you are totally interested in the, let's call them the studio processing details and what I call repairing tracks, that's not what I talk about. What I talk about is, I I'm doing 3 songs in that course, like a metal song, modern metal song, one rather vintage 70s rock kind of song, and one death metal song. And what I'm telling people my vision of each song, or of the tones of each song in the beginning. I say, okay, this is what I want. And at that moment, without knowing where we want to go, and then I start working on the DIs, then I check out different amps, different cabinets, different speakers, different microphones, and all the time I keep on talking about why I like something or dislike something, and so people can understand my thinking and my mindset, and yeah, we start from scratch and end up with a final tone that doesn't need a lot of processing. And that's something that people can do at home, because when they get this course, they are getting the backing tracks of those songs. They are getting my reamped tracks, so they can analyze what I have done. But then they also get the DIs, so they can start crafting their own tones. And that's what I want them to do. Again, not to repeat what I do, but to find their own unique tones. But what the course is showing is that road from a vision to a final guitar tone with 3 different genres, or examples from different genres.
From my own personal experience with the course, I got very excited when I saw the word fuzz in there, because that's my jam. And I'm interested in metal, and I'm pretty far away from death metal right now. But so what I liked is you covered these 3 very different styles of music, but they're all kind of under the same sort of umbrella. So it was instantly accessible to me because of the fuzz. It was interesting to me because of the metal, and then exciting to me because of the death metal. I'm like, okay, I could get a tone that I've never done before.
But also, it would be interesting to hear your take on the death metal thing, because I'm pretty sure you would come up with something that is so different I would have never imagined. So I think the main message of the course has nothing to do with genres. It has something to do with mindset and being creative, creating a vision and turning it into sound. And so I have those 3 examples, but it's much more important that you learn what I said, how to turn a vision into sound. And doesn't really matter if it's death metal. It would be actually interesting to have someone like you do the death metal song.
Then I will do it
please
as a hobby thing, and just as a favor to a friend. I will do it. Maybe someone on the channel gets to see it.
I will give you my feedback. I'm very curious to hear that.
Oh no! Well, Kristian, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
The course, I 100% recommend it. The links are below this video or somewhere attached to the text. There's also links to the rest of your channel stuff, Kristian. Go and check it out. Merge these 2 families of YouTube viewers together, because I've had a lot of fun chatting with you today, mate. And we're going to do another video, so you can check that one out, or you can indeed just go and buy the course now without even thinking about it.
No.
Just get your credit card out.
Make me rich and famous. Buy the course. Thank you. Good night.
Then I can maybe hang out with you and be semi-rich and famous.
Yeah, you can try. Yeah, let's do that. Cool. No, but thanks a lot for having me. It has been a pleasure, and yeah. Thanks again.
Speechless. All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Go and do all those things and click the links and all the buttons, and I will see you very soon. Bye-bye.